weirdly, it was another huge weekend in recruiting, both with just the rumors and the transfer portal and everything in between, and also some surprise visits when it comes to University of Alabama.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me, Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, and thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. You guys are the absolute best. And I know I've got it third on the list here, but I'm going to give a shout-out to my main man, Mitch, who I met at Target the other day. I was walking, and Mitch and his lovely bride, didn't get her name, was there when they had a cute baby, and I'm a sucker for babies. I just said, hey, baby. The baby was sort of staring at me, I guess because I'm sort of big and weird looking, and babies look at me a lot. And I just said, hey, baby. And, I had my 7-year-old daughter, and she waved, and we left. And then we ran into him again later at Target, and he goes, man, I know your voice. Are you Luke Robinson? I was like, yeah. And he goes, I listen to the pod and appreciate it. And I was like, man, thank you so much. So, Mitch, you're a great American, and there you go. So, appreciate you. Jimmy, huge weekend when it comes to all things recruiting, if you ask me. First of all, the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game, which I'm usually attending, but I wasn't able to go this year. Ryan Williams, all he does is reclassify, get like an emergency availability to be able to play in the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game and win the MVP. And it was clear as day he was the MVP. I mean, I think Roman Gagliano, the quarterback from Opelika, and it was funny listening to the Mississippi callers. They were like, he's from Opelika. And I was like, no. But anyway, Roman Gagliano, who I called at the beginning of the year in the Kickoff Classic, good player. And but he was smart. He was like, I'm going to throw it to Ryan Williams early and often. And it worked out a lot. Also, shout out to Malcolm Simmons from Alexander City, my hometown. He had an 88-yard touchdown. He's going to Auburn. He's going to be a good player for him. I really believe that. And then, Ryan Williams is where it all starts. And he's the alpha and omega of this thing. But I thought Jeremiah Beeman was really good. And then maybe if Ryan Williams won the MVP, maybe Drake Kirkpatrick Jr. was. 2 interceptions, a fumble recovery, and a block punt. That's pretty amazing.
I'm big on Dre Jr. He's one of my favorites in the whole class. I know that might surprise some people who will look at some of the more highly rated kids or highly ranked kids that'll be in this class. But I would put Dre up there among the top 10 kids in the class myself. That's what I think. Again, he's a late bloomer. I think a lot of well, then why isn't he rated higher? You'd get so much of your ranking it starts with like a base, and his base was pretty low because as a sophomore and junior, I think Dre was just sort of almost a stretch for an FBS prospect at all. And then his senior year, he just turned into a completely different kid. And it is crazy when it happens, but we've seen it happen so many times in the past. Tell you a very similar kid to that was TJ Yeldon, who was just an absolute 5-star beast as a senior. And his sophomore and junior year, it was like, is he a DB? Is he good enough for the SEC? But then his senior year, he was just a 5-star freak. I'm not saying that's Dre. I'm just saying Dre's one of my favorites. And I'm so thrilled that he had a big game so everybody can see, hey, Dre's not the prospect that some people think he is. I've seen so many comments about, the Alabama's taking him because he's a legacy. Really? Do you know how many kids of former Saban players Nick Saban has passed on? Now, and I'm talking about all the kids he had, coaching at LSU and Michigan State and the Dolphins and the Browns. That's just crazy what people come up with. But no, I'm a big fan of Dre, and boy, what can you say about Ryan? First junior to ever play in the game, and he's the MVP of it.
And it was just clear. He's just the best player on the field. There were some other really good players out there. I'll tell you something, that Kamari and Franklin headed to Ole Miss. Ole Miss had themselves a weekend. I mean, they get the number 1, number 2 edge portal guys, one from Florida, one from Tennessee. They got Juice Wells, the wide receiver from South Carolina today. That Kamarian Franklin was the star for the MVP for the Mississippi side, I should say, even though they lost. Yeah, I'm telling you something. It's a good year to not have Ole Miss on the schedule if you're Alabama, if you ask me. But going back to Dre Kirkpatrick really quickly, there's a guy, Pigskin Pete, I think it's maybe Pigskin PD. I can't remember. And I'm not looking at it like this.
There's a Pigskin Pete and a Pigskin Petey.
Okay. Well, I'm going to find which one of them I'm talking about here because and
probably
it's Pigskin Petey. Pigskin Petey.
Probably Petey.
Yeah. And anyway, sorry about that, Pigskin Petey. I hope y'all need to follow him. He's a good follow. But he did a live Spaces on Twitter, which I've only done one other time. And I joined it just for the heck of it because he invited me, and it was very cool. We had a lot of participation. And, one thing that I talked about when it comes to Dre K after that game was, what you can't quantify, what's not tangible about Dre K. You can talk about his measurables are not as good as his dad. No problem. That's true. You can talk about maybe he's not the Jalen Mbakwe speedy corner guy. That's true. Also true. But what you can't talk about, or at least put into words, is the experience that he's learned simply from being around his dad, the osmosis effect of picking up NFL-esque and major college football-esque material and picking up coverages and just knowing where to be from watching his dad over and over and over again. Dre Kirkpatrick is not a Hall of Famer, but he had a nice long NFL career and probably made enough money to not have to work again if he doesn't want to, is my guess. But
I totaled it up not too long ago. I think about 9 years in the league and around $50 million.
Oh, he never has to work again. Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. wouldn't have to work again if it's managed correctly. And Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. wouldn't have to work again. But that, again, that's beside the point. My point is that he's just been around the game enough to learn stuff that other people who don't have a dad that played in the NFL for 9 years, they don't know. So I think that's something. By the way, Jalen Mbakwe in the game, I mean, nothing really ever stood out, but I don't think that's his fault. I think, when you play cornerback, sometimes the ball just didn't go your way. And I'll tell you something, the pressure that the Alabama defensive line put on was pretty incredible. QB Reese for Ramsey, I thought he had some nice moments. He filled the hole at least one time on a really nice play. I thought overall the Alabama guys did a good job. And, of course, Team Alabama won. So I'm proud of them. Jimmy, we're going to talk about some surprise visitors and some other portal stuff when we come back. I got to tell y'all something, though. I want to try something here. We got to do this for our live reads now. So be patient with me. I've got to figure it out, but here we go. That was it. I have to do that before I tell you about eBay Motors. That's all I have to do.
You did that really well. That was fantastic.
I did. I did it great. eBay Motors. Look, you love some eBay Motors. I love eBay Motors. Who doesn't love eBay Motors? Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and much, much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors have got you covered, baby. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, you're not burning cash. With all the parts you'll need at the price you want, it's easy to turn your car back into that MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. I also had to do that.
Hey, well, whatever you did, it was just fantastic.
It was amazing. I got to say, I'm proud of myself. Anyway, so other recruiting news. Jimmy, the thing that sort of blew me away, Edric Houston, who I would say a consensus 5-star from Buford, Georgia, been committed to Ohio State for a hot minute now. I mean, like a while. He makes a very surprise visit to Alabama, like super surprise. Like I had no inclination this was happening. And it sounds like things went really well. Ohio State is a long way from Buford, Georgia. Now, the world is a smaller place, as we know. We get quarterbacks from California all the time. But I also think that if you're if you're from Buford and you look around at Alabama and you go, Alabama's done some good things with some of our dudes, and Alabama's also, they carry a lot of weight. I mean, they just got in as a one-loss team over an undefeated Power 5 team. Say what you want to. If you're out there, you're listening, you think, hey, that's crap, whatever. It happened, and it mainly happened because Alabama carries a big stick and strength of schedule and some other stuff. But not every one-loss Power 5 team is going to be able to leapfrog an undefeated Power 5 team. So my point is that if you're Edric Houston, maybe you're like, I don't have to go all the way to Ohio State. And there are also rumors that the defensive line coach, Larry Johnson, will be leaving Ohio State. There are some rumors about that may be in play here. And in the end, maybe he's just thinking, I don't want to go all the way to Columbus, Ohio. I go to Columbus, Ohio all the time. Me, personally, I got kids there. And it's a long way from here to yonder.
I think sometimes Alabama maybe looks like an oasis, like it's a very stable situation. I think that's appealing to a lot of kids. Like at Alabama, you sort of know exactly what you're getting, right? I mean, you had Nick Saban forever. His staff changes a lot, but Alabama doesn't change. It's Nick Saban. I mean, he's the reason that these kids sign with Alabama is Nick Saban. And I think in the end, when it comes time to, hey, I got to write my name on this letter of intent, and then it becomes very real. And I think some kids at that point take a second look at Alabama. I mean, in terms of there's less mystery about Alabama. And for a kid from Buford, which is near Atlanta, for people who don't know, it's close to home. I mean, it's not a very far drive. It's kind of that perfect distance, right? Where you're going off to college, but you're also able to quickly come home, for mom's cooking or family emergencies, and your family can come see you play. I still say, when we were growing up, Luke, geography was the number one factor when it comes to recruiting. That's been replaced by other factors, obviously. But geography is still an important factor. And by that, I mean, kids want to play where their parents can easily see them play. I do think more kids play cross country than ever before. But, sometimes those kids come from means. And now with NIL, these players can fly their families around. But generally speaking, geography still matters. And I think ultimately, if Houston flips to Alabama, geography is going to have a lot to do with it. Alabama's stability has a lot to do with it. So we'll see. At BOL, we think today that it is worth watching. We don't have secret information. We're not saying, hey, watch this, or hey, we have him on Flip Watch. No, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, I don't think there's a final decision here that's known to anyone outside of his very small circle, and I think we'll know something soon. But this one is worth watching, and the kid's fantastic as a player. I compare him to Jonathan Allen.
Yeah, interesting. I'd love to have him, and then of course, if Ryan Williams does stay on board, that's 2 more 5-stars to this class. Then you can talk about Jaden Baugh and Kevin Riley, running backs that came in this weekend. It feels like, again, this is a theory of mine. Kevin Riley's probably like, hey, Miami pushed. I've been committed to Miami for a while. It'd be awesome to go to Alabama, but maybe he's feeling some loyalty to Miami. I'm not saying he won't flip. Me personally, right now, I'd predict he sticks with Miami.
Not sure. Very well could stick with Miami. Not sure. I'm leaning a little more Alabama here, but not staunchly. I'm not wagering a lot here because Kevin's been committed to Miami for so long. The dalliance with Alabama was sort of late, but he is local. So I'm going to say I'm going to predict Alabama there. But my confidence level would be at about 55 or 60%. I'm not adamant about this. I do think Alabama has an excellent shot at Jaden Baugh. And in terms of which kid I like more, straight up, I'd choose Riley because I love that home run hitting. I love the fact that he's a home run hitter and he's not small. But man, we could use Jaden Baugh's size in that room. I mean, he's a bigger kid. Again, and a home run hitter himself. I think Baugh is one of the more underrated kids out there in terms of like, to me, he has wow tape. Like, wow, why isn't he a bigger thing? And he's a big thing as is, but he should even be a bigger thing. I'm going to say Jaden Baugh is more like 60% Alabama, 65%. Kevin Riley, a little less than that, 55, 60% Alabama. But I do think there's a chance you get both.
I was going to say we take both, is my understanding.
Yes, my understanding is we would take both.
All right, and then you
only have 3 running backs coming back, and 5's a pretty good number.
And we won't go into the guys necessarily that visited elsewhere right now, just for time's sake on this particular podcast. But I know Steve Mbuawa is
Steve. We call him Steve! ! Steve.
Tristan Jernigan, who Alabama flirted with heavily, he's going to stick with A&M. I think that's probably a good decision for both parties. And then Daniel Hill visited Mississippi State. They're in the picture, replacing South Carolina now. Obviously, they have a shot. So there's some interesting.
Tennessee probably also in there, Daniel Hill.
Yeah.
I mean, I would guess right now, like, okay, now it's time to guess where are these guys going. My guess for Daniel Hill is Mississippi State, but I'm not going to be surprised at Tennessee. And no one has recruited him longer or harder than Alabama. I just wonder if Alabama might be a little more enamored here at the end with Riley and Bow. I think that's possible. But man, I would like Daniel Hill's size. That's, he's even bigger than Jaden Baugh. Alabama's got Jam and Justice and Richard Young, right? But they're all like identical looking.
And potentially either Jace or Roydell could come back, or both if they wanted to, right? Because of COVID. I mean, they could.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they will.
They could. Yeah, I think Roydell would be more likely than Jace, because Jace probably has enough draft stock to where he would stay in the draft, but Roydell could come back. And again, Roydell would be, I mean, when you're talking about their heights and weights, man, Roydell, Jam, Justice, Richard Young, they're all really similar guys. It would be nice to add someone that's got a little more, beef, a little more butt, a little more move the chains, on 3rd and 1.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And so what we're going to do in this next segment, we're going to talk a lot about the transfer portal and some Alabama guys that got in it, got out of it. They've already named their destination, crazily enough. But now I got to tell you about PrizePicks. This is going to take some getting used to, but I'm going to have to do that every single time. But right now I want to tell you about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is so much fun. We can't say enough good things about them. Absolutely awesome. And actually, to tell you the truth, I'm not even supposed to do a live read for PrizePicks this time, but I'm going to do it anyway. I just noticed I'm not supposed to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's how much I love PrizePicks. But I need to take off the LinkedIn jobs. I screwed that up about as badly as I could possibly screw that up. But PrizePicks, prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege, prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege. You want to go check out PrizePicks today. Let me tell you something. It makes the NFL season so much fun when you're using PrizePicks. I've got the YouTube direct ticket thing. And man, I have all the games on. I got them like in the multiple squares, quadrants, or whatever. And if you're doing PrizePicks, you can keep up with this thing so much fun. It just really adds to your Sunday. And by the time football Sunday's done, you want to go take a nap, and it's awesome. PrizePicks.com/lockedoncollege. Go check them out ASAP. Okay. I apologize to the good people at Amazon and everything else, because I just messed that up. I have no idea how to fix it, and I'm not gonna. But if I did, I'm trying to learn this. You normally when we have a lead sponsor and they say this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, I live read PrizePicks. Well, I just assumed I was a stupid old me not looking, and I didn't look, and I'm not supposed to read PrizePicks. So PrizePicks, you got a little Christmas present from yours truly right there. If you can't see the thing I did with my finger gun, that's what. Yeah. Jimmy, Elijah Pritchett. Yep. He broke up with Alabama, and then he just couldn't. He realized we complete him, and he came back. Thankfully, because we almost
what happened.
We were almost down to 3 tackles.
Yeah.
For next year.
Well, just goes to show this, Luke. everyone makes too many assumptions about the portal. Like right when it happened, when a kid enters the portal, fans immediately leap to a conclusion. This is why he's mad. They don't know, or he's upset, or he got kicked off, or he got run off, or we don't think he's very good, or he got passed up by a younger guy. And it's all these assumptions. And it's best to just sort of wait and see actual facts will eventually come to light. And we're happy to share those with you here and at here at BOL and anywhere else. Ask us on Twitter. And look, I don't know exactly what got him in, but I do know what got him out. He is a valued player at Alabama, and Nick Saban wanted him back. Keep in mind, some kids get in the portal, they're not asked back. They're not wanted back. But there's not a, hey, we want to, hey, coach wants to see you in his office. Sometimes a kid gets in the portal and it's like, you need help packing? Or
coach never wants to see you again.
We'll drop you off at the Greyhound station. We're happy to do that for you. But with Pritchett, he was clearly recruited back out of the portal quickly. And whatever concerns Elijah had about, because it did catch Alabama's staff by surprise. I can't report that.
Do you think that he was tampered with?
That would be a total guess on my part. I don't know that. I would be guessing. My guess is yes.
Okay,
my guess is yes.
Too. Now,
my guess is yes, but I don't know that.
I'm not accusing anybody. I'm not doing anything of anybody. I don't even want to say the site. If you keep up with recruiting and you keep up with it like I do, you'll know this. There was another website that said expect X school to be involved here, and he was a beat writer for that school. And I was like, oh yeah, they were tampering, but I wasn't even mad about it. I'm not saying that in a vitriolic way. I'm saying that in a way of that's the new normal.
Well, and so the new world.
It's the new world.
The new world.
And I don't like the broad picture of it. The individual tampering I can live with because I know we're all doing that, including Alabama. So I'm like, I can't complain. I can't be a hypocrite like that. But the broad picture of it, I wish it didn't happen that way. I have no idea how to stop it. Now, Elijah Pritchett, thankfully, is coming back. That is wonderful. Super happy for him and Alabama. Anquan Barnes got in the portal, and he's already made his destination choice. He made it while we were doing this podcast. Do you know where he's going?
I do not, because I do not have the phone in front of me. I mean, just a wild guess. I'm going to say SEC.
No, Colorado. Yep. So, I think it's a smart move by Deion, and here's why. Just like I talked about with Dre Kirkpatrick learning from his dad, Anquan Barnes has been going up against the best of the best in the country for a couple years now, and he's going to know something. You hope, and so if you're Deion, you're like, I'll take a chance.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we played some. We also have to remember as Alabama fans who's on that Colorado staff, and it shows what Charles Kelly's opinion is of Anquan Barnes and Sal. I think Sal might be moving on to the Charlotte 49ers staff. I'm not sure if he's left yet. I know that was a heavy rumor, but even if Sal has left, they would ask him. Deion would ask him about Anquan. But I'm happy for him. Good. I saw Colorado got Walter Taylor today too, the quarterback from Jackson, Alabama, that's been at Vanderbilt. He's going to Colorado. Colorado is definitely building their roster through the portal. This is Deion's choice. This is his plan of action. And I get it. I mean, hey, look, at Alabama, we have a high school system in the state of Alabama that can support Alabama recruiting high school talent like Ryan Williams, for instance, and Dre Kirkpatrick, the two stars from the Alabama team we talked earlier about in the All-Star thing. Colorado doesn't have that. They don't have an extensive a lot of in-state high school kids. For Colorado to sign high school kids, they got to go sign them from Texas, from Florida, from California. It's just a little harder. I think building through the portal makes a lot of sense for the Buffaloes right now. And I think Deion's doing the right thing. And I think Barnes is a kid that could help him. Was he going to be a star there? I doubt it. But, you need about 6 defensive linemen to be part of your first team rotation. It would not surprise me one bit if he ends up in Colorado's first 6 or 7 guys.
No, I'm right there with you. I think it's a good pickup and a good fit for Barnes too. So I think it works out well.
We know where Ja'Cory Brooks is going.
Yeah, Ja'Cory Brooks is going to Louisville, and good for him.
I like it. I mean, good choice. They throw the ball. He has a chance to be wide receiver 1. They're bringing in a better quarterback than the one they had, assuming they can be the first program that keeps Tyler Shuck healthy, because Texas Tech and Oregon could not keep that poor kid healthy. When Tyler Shuck has some, I know that's not a name a lot of our listeners are familiar with, but it's kind of weird. People might think, he left Oregon, must have been a failure there, left Texas Tech, must have failed there. If you look back at Tyler Shuck's time at those places, his 1-loss record, like I started a game and I finished the game, he's something like 18-3. I mean, the team loses when he's not the quarterback.
Yeah.
When he's a quarterback and he's able to play a game and finish it, he's had a lot of success at Texas Tech and Oregon. So he just got to stay healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And then, of course, Georgia has had like a mass exodus of players. AJ Green, who was from Central Phoenix City, a lot of people think he ends up at Auburn. That seems like a good fit. Now, they lost a good linebacker, I know. They lost Marvin Jones Jr. Again, these guys, none of those guys, except for the linebacker, it was a hyphenated name whose name escapes me, but something Dumas.
Johnson Dumas.
It's
Johnson
pronounced
Dumas.
Dumas.
Okay.
Yeah. You remember that old commercial? No, I'm kidding.
Dumas?
You don't remember the old commercial where the guy kept saying, like, I don't think you could hear it on the commercial, but then he goes, and his name was Dumass. And at the end of the commercial, the guy goes, yeah, all that's fine, but it's pronounced Dumas, because the kid was saying it another way that I can't say on here anymore.
Aha. Now I get the joke.
Well,
I'm
finally,
like, Dumas.
clicked in for
Dumas.
you.
Sounds like you're asking for 2 more. Dumas, please.
Instead of Nomas, it's Dumas.
Yeah. Dumas,
okay.
Please. So you want 2?
So, yeah, but, none of the guys except for Dumas that have left have really been super contributors. But when you've got like 10 to 11 guys that have left, I mean, I guess that can be a positive if you can bring in transfer guys the other way. But I'm looking at the transfer portal players, and, you think about, first of all, Walter Nolan, he's predicted to go to Ole Miss, which would be incredible for them. Aiden Childs already going to Michigan State. And then you got Nyland Green, who's left, and A.J. Harris, who's left. Cam Ward's still out there, obviously. London Humphreys, a wide receiver, is going from Vandy to Georgia. That's interesting. But Ole Miss is killing it. And, A&M's losing guys, but I think they're going to be okay, I think, when all's said and done. But, man, just interesting that it feels like, here's what I think. Heavy is the crown, Jimmy. We've said this forever. That's what separates Nick Saban from so many other coaches who've had spurts of greatness. Nick Saban's just continued to be great. We haven't lost more than 2 games since 2010. And even then we lost 3. And then we went to the bowl game and beat Michigan State so badly, they were still recovering when we beat their ass again in 2015. So, but yeah, it's just very difficult to run a program, especially these days. But Nick Saban seems to have it all together. And so when we lose a guy like Elijah Pritchett and the very next day Nick Saban's able to recruit him back, I think it says a lot. But, Jimmy, that's neat.
In my opinion, we signed one of the best players. When people are like, boy, when's Alabama going to get more active in the portal? I'm like, we already signed one of the best tackles in the portal. He might have been the best tackle.
That should count.
He might have been the best tackle in the portal.
Because
I'm telling you, I think Pritchett – I think today, if we're asking today, I'm telling you Elijah Pritchett's going to be our starting right tackle next fall, and he's going to be a good player.
It's funny that you say that. My buddy Corey LeBounty down in Mobile, he called the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game for the radio, and he called me afterwards. He's like, Kirkpatrick was just sick, man. He had a fumble recovery. He had 2 interceptions, blocked a punt. And he said, really, I think statistically he recovered another fumble because he recovered his own fumble. So, it's like getting Elijah Pritchett out of the portal when he left your place should count as, hey, Elijah Pritchett. They should have a thing where it's like Alabama and then an arrow to Alabama. He transferred from Alabama to Alabama in a period of about 15 hours. But
hey, when you're in the portal and you talk to a coach and the coach says, I think you ought to play here, and the kid says, I agree, you just signed a kid out of the portal.
Yeah.
Alabama did something very similar, a couple cycles ago with Jalen Moody. Now, Moody was in the portal longer. Moody had actually visited other schools. When, I think Moody, now we can say it if we didn't back then, but, Moody was headed to Texas.
Yeah, that's true. All right, buddy. That's going to do it for today's episode. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Big week, everybody. Roll tide.